Okay. Hello, everybody. This is Cassie Pajarillo Braganza, your host for today's webinar. And today we are going to be talking about Disini Law and UP Law, a digital transformation journey. We want to honor you and thank you also for joining us today. It's exactly 4 p.m. So celebrating its 20 years, the Disini Law presents Digital Transformation Thursday. It's a webinar series on various topics and discussions involving technology and law. As you can see, the pandemic forced everyone to adapt processes and implement series of hold on, sorry about that. So series of work from home arrangements. More and more work teams are trying to adjust to these changes and find the need to pivot its operations by applying digital technology, changing the way it does business and delivering services to customers. Okay, so to kick off that, the Digital Transformation Thursday, Attorney JJ will share his journey on how a law firm through the years was able to transform its business to its day-to-day process and integrate technology in practically all areas of business. Okay, so and then we're going to have Attorney Lars Serzo. She will share her experience with the implementation of adaptations on different technologies, particularly in the area of task management, the difficulties they had in terms of implementing changes in the workplace and how it has affected their productivity and efficiency. And of course, we're going to have our colleague, Professor Emerson Banyes. He is joining us and will share the digital transformation efforts currently underway in one of the oldest law schools in the country, of course, none other than UP College of Law. Okay, so I would like to introduce everybody to, of course, to Attorney JJ Disini, who will be here with us to take the lead of the discussions. To those of you who would still want to know what does Attorney JJ does and what his background is, he graduated as Dean's Medal from the UP College of Law and placed 7th in the bar examination and has been continuously practicing law since 1994. In 2004, he obtained a degree in Masters of Law from Harvard Law School, and he is the first lawyer of the Philippine Internet Commerce Society and was actively involved in the lobbying efforts for the passage of E-Commerce Act, Republic Act number 8792. And of course, he drafted his implementing rules and regulations under the supervision and control of an interagency task force co-chaired by the Department of Trade and Industry, the Department of Budget and Management, and of course, Bangko Sentral in 2000. A year later, he co-drafted also the rules on electronic evidence as part of Supreme Court's e-commerce subcommittee. Of course, Atty. JJ is a frequent speaker. Of course, he is always, you may also see him on television, on articles, and also a speaker in leading international events, for especially legal forums and news and current affairs programs on television that he discusses involving e-commerce, cybercrime, data privacy, intellectual property, amongst others. Of course, he's also the professor of UP College of Law, where he teaches cyber law and cyberspace, advanced issues in intellectual properties, bills and notes, credit transaction torts, damages, and negotiations and mediation. He is a professor lecturer of Philippine Jurisdictional Academy. Okay, that was a handful. So sorry, you guys, but it is really, really important that you know as well on why we have here Attorney JJ and why we are doing this. Of course, we are going to have also Attorney Lars. She joined the firm in January 2016 and is currently a senior associate. She has relevant experiences in assisting clients involving fintech and emerging media, regulatory, transactional, and corporate restructuring projects and issues. She also regularly drafts, also reviews, negotiates tech and IP contracts, and she is also the firm's legal education initiative leader in growing community of Philippine-based startups. So she's also represented a media company in Supreme Court where she defended the media company's fundamental rights to freedom of press and access to information. The case unanimously decided in favor of the media company. So she has been cited as Legal 500 Asia Pacific in 2017 and 2018. So she's a JD degree from the UP. She holds a bachelor's art degrees in European studies and also in Ateneo de Manila University. So she's also part of the integrated bar of the Philippines Kalinga Apayo Center. Whew. And of course, we are going to be joined in by Attorney Emmer, of course. So she's a professor in the University of the Philippines College of Law. He also advised IT, law-related government concerns such as custom single windows and procurement of cloud services. He is also engaged in consultancy of UP Law Center. He conceptualized and drafted the proposed rules for electronic discovery. And prior to that, he worked as a large media corporation. He developed web and wireless applications and performed systems administration and general technical support. Okay, I know that these are credentials that are really, really important for everyone to have and to know in order for us to also have a good, good insight and good reference on why we are discussing today's episode, which is Disini Law and UP Law's a digital transformation journey. And before we start, I just wanted to invite you guys to go on and join us. We have upcoming episodes every Thursday, 4 p.m. You will be also receiving, of course, reminders on your emails. And okay, so we're going to have doing e-business, electronic contracts, document and signatures. And this is going to be on July 2 and of course, every Thursday, 4 p.m. onwards. We have 100 attendees today, so we wanted to say thank you so much, everybody. If you have questions, please feel free to write it down on the comment section or the comment box, and I will be taking note of them and we'll be asking and discussing that later on forward. Okay, so may we call on, of course, Attorney JJ, Attorney Emmer, and Attorney Lars to proceed, and let's go on to the discussion. Welcome, you guys. Okay, Attorney JJ. Okay, you're muted. All right. Okay, there you go. Yes, I can hear you now. All right, perfectly. Okay, take it away.
Thanks, Cassie. So I'd like to welcome everyone to the first Digital Transformation Thursday. It's our first time to do this, and I'm sort of wearing many hats today. So I'm also running our sort of back end, doing the text. I just need to make sure my slideshow is set up properly here. Okay, look, that's good. So we, as mentioned by Cassie earlier, we thought up this event, a series of events to celebrate our 20th year. Initially, we were planning to do a series of free lectures at UPBGC to celebrate our 20th year. That the pandemic got to us first, and therefore we're reduced to doing this here. But I think I'm pretty happy that we're able to do this and share our digital transformation story with everyone. So let me just fix this a bit. Okay, so digital transformation. So what we're going to be talking about today, I must admit I had a bit of some trepidation, some reservations about whether or not I wanted to discuss this, because I thought it might be a bit self-indulgent on our part. Talk about the firm's own digital transformation journey. After discussing with my colleagues, I agreed that perhaps it's a good way to kick off the series to talk about how we got where we are. And where we are is that when the pandemic hit and the lockdown happened, in fact, before the lockdown, about a day before the lockdown, we had decided internally to have everyone work from home. And what struck me was how that process was seamless insofar as our lawyers are concerned. And that was because not only our lawyers, but even our admin staff, we could actually operate our business entirely from home. And this is because we really had moved a lot of our processes online. And you know, everyone can work. So long as you have an internet connection on the browser, you should be okay to go. And so digital transformation became sort of the theme of what happened. I think it was the product of our digital transformation journey. And so I wanted to start first with what is the definition of digital transformation. And actually, initially, I was looking at Wikipedia, which actually had an interesting definition, which is digital transformation, according to Wikipedia, is applying technology in order to solve problems. And I think that's it's a very broad definition. I I like that definition, but I felt that quoting Wikipedia might not be academic enough, so I looked for an academic. So George Westerman of MIT Sloan says that digital transformation marks a radical rethinking of how an organization uses technology, people, and processes to fundamentally change business performance. And to a certain degree, that's true for us. And I think depending on where you are on your digital transformation journey, it might be that you might actually change the way you deliver your product to your customer. In the case of, say, a bank, a digital bank, it used to be that you interface with your customer through your branches and later through your ATM. But now the next mode is to use your the web and the mobile applications to transact with your customers. Okay, so then I'll now go on and discuss the law office's journey, and I like to call it from a fire to a pandemic. So I started the practice in 2000, and back then we were using all the standard tools. And what we will discuss today is the functional areas of our practice and how we use technology in those areas, and then finally the adjustments we made in work from home. So when I started the firm in 2000, we were using basically the standard tools that lawyers are still using today, basically email, SMS. You use some word processing tool. I was using Word. I remember in the US, I think the first generation legal word processor was WordPerfect. There were a lot of tools that were actually built into WordPerfect that lawyers liked. When Microsoft Word came onto the scene, a lot of tools and features in Microsoft Word were geared, I think, towards lawyers. A lot of that would have to do with the automatic numbering, so you can write up contracts, delete provisions, and then all of that can be kept on. And of course, the track changes function. Of course, we do our research online as well through computers. And then slowly, we started adopting productivity tools and automation. And just coincidentally, that really happened when Professor Emmer joined the firm. It started with that first thing that he asked for when he joined the firm. He said, "Can I have 2 monitors?" And the reason for that was that he had read somewhere that Microsoft had done a study on productivity. I think he even sent me a link to the article. Productivity. So Microsoft had done a study of all productivity tools, software, etc. And what they found out was that the only thing that showed a measurable increase in productivity was a second screen. And indeed, so to accommodate him, we put them up on 2 screens. I think those were like 14-inch flat screens back then. And I think some of them are still working today, about more than 10 years after. And ever since then, all our machines, we all use double screens. All our lawyers, we use 2 screens. In my case, I use 3 because I have my laptop and I usually have like 2 other screens on top. And so it's something that we've done. It's something that I think increases productivity. And just to explain it very briefly, lawyers usually write on 1 screen. So that's where your word processor will be on the screen 1. And you're also doing some research. So you can have, that could be on screen 2 is the research. But also sometimes you're replying to a pleading. Let's say you're filing an opposition to a motion. So you want the motion up on another screen. So if you're doing your work, you're writing here. You want to see what did that lawyer say? You look to the right. That's the pleading right there. And then you're writing and you're thinking, what was our research? You look to your left and your research is right there. So you have your resources. Just by turning your head, you get the resource already, rather than flipping your thumbs on a alt tab, right? So we slowly did that and we played around with a lot of productivity tools. And then to get to where we are now, and we'll introduce to you with the technology that we've introduced. And that included things later as I got more involved in the administrative side of things, billing and invoicing. And then in the last year, we finally subscribed to all e-banking platforms, to all the bank accounts that we maintain. And then recently, with work from home, we've had to adjust again. Okay, so the functional areas, doing the work for lawyers, time tracking and billing, banking, work from home, and the pandemic. Oh, so doing the work. What tools do we use to do the work for our clients? For external communication, we settled on, of course, email, but I ended up using or subscribing to G Suite. So we use Gmail. Initially, when we subscribed to G Suite, we were using only Gmail and mainly for email. So our disini.ph domain resolves to a Gmail address. For word processing, initially we were using only Word, but more recently we're actually using GDocs. And what's interesting is that I became the one that pushed everyone to GDocs because oftentimes I'm not in the office. I'm off at meetings, or maybe I'm in between meetings on the road. And what I found was that if you send me a file on Microsoft Word and I see it on my mobile on the Microsoft Word app, it's not so easy to read. Google Docs is much better to see on your phone and much easier to make changes to. So what I did was I required all my associates, if you're going to send me a document for review, you better do it on GDocs. So what happens is I don't know what they did. They started writing on Google Docs, and that's how we do that now. And more and more, we've used the Google Suite for things like calendaring. So we have common calendars throughout the firm. We share calendars, so we know where everyone is more or less. And if your meeting is not there, the assumption is that you're in the office. And if there's nothing set there for you, we assume that you're free to take on meetings, etc. For our task management, Lars will show you how we use Trello. This is something that we just used recently, and actually, I think it's correct me if I'm wrong, Lars. I think it's our third software that we've used. I think we started with maybe Todoist, and then I forget the other platforms that we've used, but now we've settled with Trello. And then for internal communications, and a lot of our IT clients actually like this, we use Slack, which is commonly used by people in software development companies. And then for as part of our document management, disaster recovery, we use Nextcloud, which is a product of .ph, as a sort of a replacement to Dropbox. So Nextcloud is like Dropbox, but it's provided by a local company. So of course we use Office. Everybody uses Microsoft Office tools. This is the standard tools that all lawyers use. Apparently, it's not Office 365 anymore. I just found out yesterday it's now Microsoft 365. We actually tried them for a while. We tried their email, Outlook, etc. But I tried to shift everyone over from Slack to Teams, and it was a bit difficult for us. So that's why we decided to keep Slack and we downscaled our Microsoft use only now to mainly for apps. We don't use any of the OneDrive. It's mainly using the PowerPoint and Excel and Microsoft Word. G Suite is, I guess, the main cloud platform that we use. We use it for email. We sync our calendars to it across the firm. So if you're in the litigation group, all your hearings will be on, should be, and it's color coded. We have different calendars for each group. So we know if it's a meeting. We know if you're out of the office. We know if it's a hearing. Okay. I mentioned already Google Docs, which has become my sort of go-to word processing. And actually now what I'm finding is that if we're going to start a new document now, we're more likely to start with a GDoc and Google Doc or a Google Sheet. We find that that maybe 95% of everything you can do on Word, you can do on a Google Doc. That's one. The second that we find is that Google Doc is much better for online collaboration. So when 5 or 6 of you are working on a doc simultaneously, Google Docs is good for that. And the nice thing that I find in Google Docs, which I don't find on Microsoft Word, is that because you're working simultaneously, I can find out what were the latest changes, even if it's not tracked. Even if it's because in Microsoft Word you have track changes, but in Google Docs, if you forget to turn that on and you made changes, I can see the latest changes because I guess it acts like a wiki. Google Docs acts like a wiki, and therefore we can see those changes. And now I'm going to hand over to you to Attorney Serzo, who will need to unmute herself, where she will talk about how we use Slack for our collaboration and internal communication.
All right.
Lars.
All right. Thank you. So good afternoon. So I'm Lars. Just to give you guys context, so as mentioned, I'm a senior associate in the firm, and the tools that I will be presenting shortly would refer to or would be pertinent to the tasks that I do in the firm. So as mentioned by Attorney JJ, when choosing what steps to take in your organization's digital transformation journey, I think you have to keep in mind, or you have to take note that you need to identify what functional challenges are relevant to your organization. So in our case, as a law firm, what was really important to us is, well, is how to properly manage tasks and people's workload. And as a senior associate, my position in the firm really is like I'm between the partners and the more junior lawyers. So it was important for me and for the partners to know what people's workloads are and how to properly distribute tasks. So when I joined the firm in 2015, we already had Slack back then. So it's Slack is essentially an internal communication software. So for a lot of our tech clients, actually, most of them are familiar with the software already. Okay, I can't seem to control the slides. Okay, there. So anyway, so as I said, Slack is an internal communications tool. The objective really is to provide everyone in the firm, all the lawyers, with a single workspace where the entire legal team can collaborate. So the functionalities of Slack that's important to us really is its ability to give us a space where we can, instead of relying on email as a communications platform, Slack allows us to focus conversations based on client matters. So the discussions are hinged per client, and further, it also has file sharing and search features. So compared to other software, and especially compared to email, it's more intuitive and it's easier to use in terms of, for example, if a client sends in work, let's say contract review, we can just dump it in the appropriate channel and tag whoever is supposed to be working on it. And if you're an associate, it's easier to navigate your tasks through Slack instead of relying on email. Because in email, like throughout the day, throughout the week, certain messages may be drowned out since it's arranged based on date. In Slack, it's arranged per client, so you can manage it better. Okay. I'm trying to move the screen. All right. So let me show you a screenshot of how Slack works. Okay. So this is how our Slack page looks like. So this is a screenshot from our general, a channel we labeled as general. So here, as you can see, we create channels on your left, the left portion of your screen. We create channels based on client name and the client matter. So let's say a pleading arrives for client A, our secretary who receives the file would already be tasked to dump the pleading in the appropriate channel and tag the assigned lawyer. So that's our protocol. And then here in this channel that I'm showing you, which is the general one, our lawyers would usually dump like important notices or regulations released by government agencies. So in a way, it's like a centralized bulletin board for everything that our lawyers are supposed to know. And really, like for the more senior lawyers in the firm, Slack is also helpful in reducing email use and ensuring that all internal communications are on a separate platform. So the goal really is for us to reserve email for external communications with clients. And I think moving forward, we can also start exploring integrating our Slack with clients who also use Slack so that everything's there na. So now for task management, as mentioned by Attorney JJ, we've started using Trello last year. But actually, since I've entered the firm, we've gone through, I was just listing it down, we've gone through at least five tools. And I guess my takeaway there really is choosing the right tool appropriate for your organization is not automatic. It really depends on the functionalities that you need. So for us, when I started, we had Todoist. It's essentially a to-do list. It's very basic. You can just create tick boxes of your tasks, And the thing I liked about it was gamified. The more tasks you tick off, the more points you earn. So you can actually level up the more tasks you accomplish. So what ended up happening was, we had a competition, like me and my batchmates in the firm, where so we wanted to earn more points. So even our personal errands, personal tasks, we started putting it on to-do-list. So anyway, it was fun, but it wasn't really perfect for us because it didn't have a functionality that would allow the senior lawyers to see who's doing what. But we earned points, so that was fun. So we left to-do-list. We started using Asana, but again, it wasn't the right fit. So what happened, like 2 years ago, one of our research assistants, a student in UP Law, created our own task management tool, which was made out of Google Sheets, on top of Google Sheets. Essentially, it was a self-coded task management tool. Again, it had the functionalities we need, but in terms of ease of use, it wasn't perfect since it required our lawyers to set aside time just to fill out the Google Sheet with tasks. So it takes you out of, it wasn't as seamless as we would want. So eventually we left that, and now we're now with Trello. So in Trello, we created a board. It's our legal to-do board. So you can see here, I just redacted some of the information. So it's very basic then. So what we did, we created a board accessible by all our lawyers and legal staff, and then created 3 columns. It's very easy lang. So we have a to-do column, a doing column, and a done column. So a lawyer assigned to a task is supposed to create a card here. So he or she would indicate the client name, the description of the task, and the lawyers involved, plus the assigned deadline. And then just to let everyone know that he's like if the assigned lawyer saw the card already and he started doing the task, he's supposed to move the card to the doing column. And then, so this gives us a sense of who's handling what, whether a certain lawyer is being overwhelmed with work or someone's not doing anything. So it's all here. And then when they're done, they just move it to the done column. So it's a very simple tool that I think gives us what we need. So that's Trello. And then aside from Trello giving us a way to manage tasks, we also, we use it to display, or we use it as a repository of some important documents that we repeatedly access. So for example, we call it home. We made a column for our onboarding documents, which is essentially it just contains our app use policy. Like, what apps are you supposed to download? What apps are you supposed to use on a day-to-day basis? And how are you supposed to use them? And then we have one for our templates for memos, proposals, etc. And then a column here that consolidates repeated tasks like SEC reporting, government reporting for our clients, and then intellectual property office monitoring work. And so it's all here, easily accessible. And of course, materials that we use for lectures and seminars. So this way, like for example, if a lawyer joins the firm, instead of having to send these documents every time, we can just refer him to this board. So that makes it easier. All right. So now for our challenges, I think at this point it's important to mention what challenges we had having to adopt all these tools. So it was really it was a two-pronged challenge for us. Number one was really convincing. We're lucky that Attorney JJ is very he's really the one pushing for all of this to happen. But it's also a challenge to make sure that everyone in the firm uses it. So it's adoption by the senior lawyers and also the junior lawyers. But I think what we've learned is, as long as the lawyers can see how it could benefit the organization, like for example, through Slack and through Trello, workload management has become more transparent. And then it's also easy to track accountability. And I think for lawyers, those are two important things. So if you're an associate doing a lot of work, you'll be able to see whether ikaw lang ba yung napupuno or like are other people slacking off, ganyan. So with Slack and with Trello, that's all visible. And you don't have to worry whether someone's taking credit for your work, etc. So it's an accountability, it has an accountability system in place. So there, I'll turn it back to Attorney JJ, and then we can discuss some more of the issues later.
Okay, hold on. All right, thanks, Lars. Actually, coincidentally, let me see if I can control these slides now. When we use Slack, so here's Slack, no? This is like an internal chat. So these are like a chat channel. And the one who pointed me out to Slack was actually Professor Emma. I sent me an email about this. I said, just try this out. And what I did was, I liked it. I bought, I think, a 30-day, I bought something, maybe I tried a 30-day trial. And then I told, the lawyers in the firm, oh, try this. And almost like immediately, like fish to water, everybody knew exactly what to do and how to use it. So this is a chat channel, but you can upload docs. So actually, one of the ways that we use Slack is that, say, in litigation cases that takes many years, many lawyers might handle the same case. What you can do is you can upload all the files onto the Slack channel, right? The answer, the complaint, the motions, the court orders, and you can search. You can search through that channel, and you can find anything that you need. So now you don't even need to have your file folder with you when you're working. All the TSN can be uploaded. All the docs that you could need that relates to the case, you can upload on Slack, and it's searchable. Okay, and actually that's one of the things that I found using GDocs versus Word. So when I used to use Word, I have to organize all my files into folders. This client, all the files go into this folder. When you go to GDocs, it's not that easy to create folders and put stuff into folders. And what I found was that there's a certain sort of twisted brilliance to Google Docs, is that your files are everywhere. They're not organized, but the beauty of it isn't that they're organized. It's that you can search. So if you want to find something, the fact that you can search through your files and you can find your document is more important than keeping them in the right order. So there's some interesting thing that I had to find out.
I forgot to mention, Slack has a lot of integration capabilities with a lot of the tools that we use. So Google Docs, Google Calendar, they integrate well with Slack. So like, let's say someone's in a meeting, and according to Google Calendar, he's in that meeting from 4 to 6, it'll appear on Slack. So like a calendar icon would appear beside the name of that person. So there.
Right. Okay. So thanks, Lars. I'll let me see, adjust the slides here. So moving on, one big problem, which for any firm, is obviously billing and time tracking. I remember for a time we used software. I don't know kung naabutan mo yun, Lars. We were using tsheets.com, which it was great. You can log your time, you can set up your matters, and then actually the app had all these cool features where, because it's made for construction workers. So if you report to the site, it takes the GPS of your phone, know that you're there, and then you can clock in. We used that for a while, but we were having difficulty really using it as an end-to-end, meaning time tracking plus billing. So what would happen is our billing would extract all the raw files from T-sheets on every month, and then construct the billing, the invoices from that. What we found was that there was a better solution, and that solution presented itself at, I'm a member of the Inter-Pacific Bar Association, and I attended, I believe it was trying to think now, might have been the one in Korea, and I met the guys behind Core Matter, Joshua, who I think is present. I'm not sure if he's attending today. And we found that they made this specifically for lawyers. So I asked him to make some screenshots of how it looks like. So when you log in, this is what you see, right? So what you see here are the matters Matters are the files that you're working on. And of course, there is a unique matter number that they assigned for that. And actually, we right now in our filing system, I've not told Joshua this, we've adopted this numbering system. So we create a number for a client, let's say 01 for this client. And the file number on the folder will be 01.0000016, and this will be the matter. And so when a document is received, it is stamped with that number, and it's organized. It's put into that folder. And what happens is now is all our file folders are numbered numerically. Makes it easy for us to keep track of our files. So the nice thing about this is that you see all the matters that you're working on. And then when you're doing something, you put up a timer. You can time yourself, or you can enter the time manually, right? If you don't like to time yourself. But if you want to be super accurate, you can time yourself. And then all the data goes into the matter. So this is the matter number 16. What you can see here is you can see, of course, the details of the matter, who's the client and how to get in touch with them. Like the currency, it's multi-currency, so you can be USD, SG, Singapore dollar, Philippine peso, right? And then you can also put some stops. So like you can say when it reaches a certain limit, right? So for example, if you've not billed so much, then you have to start issue an invoice already. What's interesting here is that they didn't highlight it, but you can see all the time that all your lawyers have logged. You will see it here in the activities part. And if they're unbilled, it will show up here on this tab. You can click on that tab, and then from the unbilled you can make invoices. I think that's where I went here. So you can see that this shows the time that people have logged. Different lawyers, right? Different users. You can see SF as the user and JS as the user. I don't think that's very clear. And also you can see sort of the total amount that I think that you billed total, right? Now, you can go to this part, which is the unbilled items. You click on that, and then you can see all the items that have been, all the time that other lawyers have logged, and you can see that it has not yet been billed. And what you can do is you can select the ones that you want to create into an invoice, and you press a button that generate invoice, and it creates an invoice. This is what the invoice looks like. You can, and actually when you, what happens now, so our billing clerk does this, what happens now is it goes to me, and I have to approve that invoice. I get to review the time, I get to review whatever, and then if everything is okay, I approve the invoice, and then it becomes an invoice now that is printed and sent to the client. And this is now the list of all invoices that you see for that particular matter. So if it's been going on for a couple of months, you might see a couple of invoices here, and these are the invoices that are pending, the due date, right? And then if it's a draft, right? These are the ones that have not yet been approved by me. Okay. And then the other thing that is great about this software. So I talked about the invoices. From invoices, our billing now, if the payment comes in, they can then match the invoices that have been paid. So I can see which invoices have been paid, which invoices have not been paid, and then we can do aging for that. There's that. We can also do profit and loss statements. So there's some basic in and out. But the other thing about this is that the productivity reports, and you can see. Actually, there's just so much info. I didn't use all the slides, but productivity reports shows us what the lawyers are doing, how much time they're doing. We can drill down what work they're doing, how many hours they're actually logging, which are billable, which are non-billable. So this is really perfect for practicing lawyer and managing a lot of people. And they charge on the basis of per user. So you may want to look at Core Matter. We can send links in the follow-on email to all of these providers, and we'll send you contact info for the people who make and support Core Matter. Okay, moving on. Banking is a bit of a pain, as you know. If you have to have and maintain multiple bank accounts so that your customers can pay you conveniently. And so what happened was, same for us, we had to have different bank accounts, and initially everything was being done manually. So we had people going to the bank, several times a week. So, meaning someone's, okay, we go to this bank today, that bank tomorrow. So BDI, BDO, Union. We weren't on Union yet. BDO, BPI, Metro. Every day someone's going, updating this, updating that. And I said, enough of that. That's a waste of time because you're spending an hour in line. Why don't you just uh, sign up for e-banking? And that was easier said than done. It took us about maybe a lot of pushing from my end. It took us about maybe 6 months to finally get signed up with everyone. And I kind of played around with the different apps. And I really didn't like that. And I said, let's try Union Bank. Apart from the fact that they were a client, and I know they've done a lot of innovation. And I must say, I never regretted it. It's really the best. No. So the sign of frustration there isn't the frustration. It's actually quite helpful for us. So so the nice thing about Union Bank is that on the same app, on the same website that you log in for your personal account, there's a login for your corporate account. So it would look like this. You enter your email, your password, and then you're in. And then I'll point out to this part here. This is really where I have any activities on the approval side. So our staff will put up certain bills so we can pay online. And then if I click on that, it shows all the pending approvals. I just click and then I approve. Sends me two-factor authentication by SMS, and I'm done. I can even do this on my phone. I don't need to do this on the web. Okay. And the other thing is that they've got this other thing on the side called Hub. And what it does is you log in, it does two-factor authentication. Once you're in, actually there are three things you can do. There's EFT, you can see EFT there. That means you can do fund transfers to any bank, right? So we can pay all our supply, we can pay our whoever we owe money to, right? Our suppliers, whoever we owe money to, our contractors, our lawyers who don't have Union Bank accounts yet, we can pay them using EFT. There's one where you can do e-credit, where you can send money directly to people within Union Bank. So that gets processed immediately. EFT I think takes about a day because it goes through PesoNet and InstaPay. And then there's another one where you can make government payments. So we pay our PhilHealth through this, PhilHealth, SSS I believe, and BIR payments. So what happens here is that and all of this I can do on my phone. So I could be in between meetings. I just go in, I do this all on my phone, and it's seamless. I can also do this on my desktop, but back when I was on the road a lot, this was something that was very simple, and we're very happy with the way this is integrated. And if you use Union Bank, even in your personal banking, you'll find that it's easy to move money to and from. And they even have like ING, they have this. You take a picture of the check and you can transfer money into your account by issuing a check to yourself. Okay, so the pandemic has hit, and I said it for us it became sort of seamless. Everybody could just go home, and using the web, they could get their work done. They had access to all the files that they needed to access, all the work, because everything was on Slack. Slack is on the web. They have all their Google Docs. They when we bought the nice thing about Microsoft is buy a license, you can install up to five machines. So you can on your phone, on your home computer. There's no excuse. So you can have Microsoft Word and all the Microsoft products on your computer. But the two things that I had to do because now what we're going to do, because we don't assign laptops to our lawyers. We assign them desktops. So now we're going to move those desktops to their homes. And so I said I need more security because I'm concerned about, in the office we have a firewall, but at home you don't have a firewall. So what I did was I installed a virtual private network, and for that I used Perimeter 81. So I did a little bit of research. This is a Perimeter 81 is it's an Israeli company. What happens is that when the machine boots up, it automatically connects to Perimeter 81, and then it's now a secure link. So no one can once that link is established, it's difficult for hackers to look and see what you're doing. And we can do this also to ensure that our web resources are being logged in only through approved IP addresses. The other thing that I need also, because in effect, I'm their in-house IT management. I needed a way to remote manage their computers. People normally, we actually used to use a TeamViewer, but I like the pricing of Splashtop, more economical. But both are good for sort of logging into other people's computers, because what we've done with our desktop computers, which are all Macintosh computers, by the way, is that I disabled the admin access. So our users can't install software. And so if they want to install something, update something, they need the admin password. And that's why they need to give me the remote access. I'll enter that password. Plus also, it gives me a chance to check whether they're updating or installing all the updates coming from Apple. And that's it for us. And you know, I'm sorry, the title of the story was From a Fire to a Pandemic, and I forgot to tell the story about the fire. And what happened was we had just moved to our office in Philippine Social Science Center across the road here in Commonwealth. And maybe you had been there for a couple of months. And I got a call one morning, woke me up, a friend on her way to work, stuck in traffic on Commonwealth, said, "Hey, don't you hold the office in Philippine Social Science Center?" I said, "Yeah, well, it's on fire." And so I panicked. I live 5 minutes away, but I panicked. I drove my car as near as I could, and I ran over there. And they did let me up, and indeed it was on fire. And it was on fire on the floor where our office was. So I will go up, and then they said, "No, it's on the other side of the building." So they let me up to the fourth floor, and then I checked they checked the third floor, I should say. I checked the office. The office was full of smoke, and that got me to thinking about disaster recovery. Like, what are we going to do if this place burns down? And it's ever since then we started using Google Docs. I'm sorry, we started using Dropbox, and then now we use Nextcloud for syncing all our files, so that all our files are always in the cloud. If the office burns down, you get a browser, you can start working again. But the other thing we did was we sort of hacked to the help of our guy who helps us out, Ian Season, who's the son of Carmelo Season, if you know Professor Carmelo Season. So his only child is Ian. So Ian helped us out on that. He said he made a very good suggestion. He said, "Did you buy those Apple Mac like 3 terabyte? It's a what do you call it? It's a router, right? It's a wireless router." But it also has 3 terabyte hard drive inside. And what we did is we time machined all our computers there, and then you can install an external drive that syncs, that it backs up to the external drive. And what I would do is I would bring home the external drive and leave the router in the office. Every once a week, I would come back with a hard drive. So if the office burns down, I have a copy of the computer backups on at home, and I could reinstall theoretically their computers. And we're doing a version of that right now with that. Okay, so that's it for the Disini Law digital transformation journey. I'm going to hand you over now to Professor Emer Banez, who will talk about the digital transformation journey of our law school, our alma mater, the UP College of Law. This is Professor Emer. Thank you, Emer.
Hello, hi, thank you. So something more about my background. I used to be I suppose I still am a programmer before going to law school. And I went to law school thinking that, you know, this law thing this seems easy, right? Law is just like another, you know, it's a system of rules. It's, you know, it's logical, consistent rules. It's easy. It's an easy way to make money for less work. But you know, I assure everyone that thanks to teachers like Professor Disini, I have since been disabused of that notion. Yeah, so I'm now a lawyer for the university. All right, so I call this portion the before times, just to give a preview of what we were up to, you know, before the lockdown. Right? Do I have control of the? Wait, I can't control the. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is my first time to be in the office since the lockdown, and you know, the period before the lockdown, you know, seems to be so strange now. You know, I look at my inbox, and my inbox had so many other priorities that were so naive. that are so naive now. Okay, so let me take you back to before, before the lockdown, March, first 2 weeks of March 2020, right? So we were not completely, taken by surprise by the, by the pandemic. Prior to this period, we already had, we were building towards a long-term, plan for digitizing a lot of our functions. In fact, by that time, a lot of our critical functions, some of our critical functions were already online. With UP, right, CRS, our enrollment, HR was already digitized. The way we disburse and manage property, partly digitized. In UP Law, we had a couple of customized systems that were different from the university's systems because, well, the College of Law has special requirements, right? It's not enough that you pass UPCAT. You also need to pass the LAE, right? And so we have the LAE, application portal, right? We have slightly different grading system, in UP Law, right? We need to track them. We need to track their performance not only within within UP Law, but also we need to take note of their bar results. And so we had to develop our own student record system. And also we have a case management system, for our legal aid office. Right? Prior to the lockdown, we also just recently relaunched the website. So the website has been freshly converted from something that's static to something that's managed by a content management system, which enabled us to make updates and changes to the website easier. All this was necessary because the office that I manage, the Information and Publication Division, not only handles the printing of books, right, for the college, but also the website as well as our social media content. So even before that, at least my department was already partially working on a remote basis. Why? Because, well, first we had we have the smallest plantilla in the college, among the smallest plantilla of regular employees in the college. But we need programmers, we need artists, we need talent that can't fit in the standard plantilla defined by the enabling law of the college. So we had to contract out some of those functions. And so, we have the smallest plantilla and therefore the smallest office. We can't fit all that talent physically in one space. And so we needed to work regularly with contractors. Also, we needed to do remote work because, as you know, we already have a campus in BGC. Half of the week I'm in BGC, the other half I'm in Diliman, and so I'm shuttling back and forth. And so I needed a way to manage them from afar. So we were working with through Microsoft Teams, which is a Slack work-alike, and Adobe Creative Cloud. So everything from the draft, from the draft stages to the editing stages of our designs were available through Adobe Creative Cloud. Right, so this is the web page. So this is now dynamic, modern design. Yeah, so it lets us update our content regularly. Yeah, this is the LAE portal. You have to log in. Application is by default the application for LAE should be online, and you will be notified online. All right. So in fact, during in the last 2 days prior to the lockdown, we were still operating under the assumption that we'll continue with our digital transformation. The college was finalizing its QMS ISO process documentation. We want to be ISO certified, so we are documenting our processes, and that would make digitization easy for us, because if you document your processes, it will be easier for us to program. So we were finalizing details for that. One of the last things in my inbox that I saw right now, I had to handle catering details because we were all supposed to have a shoot, right? A film shoot, a video shoot. We were going to take videos of our professors talking about legal topics, and we were supposed to upload them to YouTube, and we were supposed to ease professors into being more comfortable in their role as public intellectuals online, right? So we were about to do that, and another thing in my inbox was we were already working on a social media plan for Women's Month. That's March, right? So we were already aware, right? We were on our way to full digitization, right? And we thought that we had time, but things happen, and so I call this next portion of our journey the churn. It's based on this quotation from one of my favorite sci-fi series, The Expanse. We play all our games, for our careers, our personal lives, but we take for granted that there's a bigger, a bigger game underneath everything. But every now and then it rears up its ugly head, and it transforms everything. And I think for this instance, we all became aware that there's a churn, right, underneath the games we're playing. All right, so when things hit, when the lockdown hit, we were forced. I think we were the only department that had pretty much a fully digital workflow. So we had to get everyone's computers into their homes. Nevertheless, we were just one small department in the college, in the law center, and so we were forced to consult with everyone else to be able to do a triage of sorts, right? So we had to think about what do we need to do in the short term, right? Yes, we'll worry about continuing our long-term functions when the new semester opens. But right now, within the first 2 weeks, in the first 2 months, what were the things that we needed to do? Well, we needed to identify and continue with our essential functions. And then we also had to save the rest of the semester, right? And for the long term, how do we function as an educational institution? Okay, so regardless of whether or not it's short-term or long-term, I think our dean made it clear for us that, okay, Malcolm Hall is closed, right? The campus is closed. But for the meantime, the website is our campus. That's the only physical manifestation, that's the only manifestation for the outside world to know that we're still here, we're still doing things. So, I think it's time to beef up. It's a reminder to be friendly and to beef up your web team. And it's a good thing that prior, way before the lockdown, we were able to, thanks to the dean, we were able to expand, our web team. We have more than one artist now. We have several writers. We have web and design, tech and design guys working on the website. Okay, so saving the semester largely meant that it was up to the teachers, of course, up to the teachers to develop their own approaches. They would ask us for our recommendations, and we would give our recommendations. But everyone was, everyone was trying to trying their best to experiment and work through this, see what works for them. And so we allowed, we allowed multiple approaches. Right? I mean, what can you do? We were still trying to procure a permanent solution. So here are some of the things that they used. Right? So some of us already had Google Classroom. I would use Google Classroom even before the lockdown because it's a way for me to inform my students about what will happen next, whether I'll be absent the next meeting, and I can give them their grades anonymously through Google Classroom. So some of them adopted Google Classroom. It's a quick way to get an online learning system in place. But you know what? Some faculty members used email. They consulted me on how to work out email threads. Some faculty members used Viber, right? So it's chat and calls, and of course a lot of our faculty members used Zoom because it's there, it's popular, everyone was using it. Yeah, I'm just trying to. Yeah, so just yeah, so just so we were able to handle saving what was left of the semester, but we had to let go of a lot of things, seminars and roundtables. The UP College of Law, the Law Center, or every day there's always a seminar or a roundtable discussion. Those are gone. Conferences, we were planning at least 2 major conferences for June. International, we were going to host an international conference. That's gone. MCLE, bar review, paralegal training program, gone, at least for the time being. But we're going to restart them soon. Publications, right? Our printer was not well ventilated. Printers were closed, right? So no publishing of books, of hard copy books. Yeah, so one of the few things that had to be preserved because we had a statutory duty is owner's function. The Law Center is host to the Office of the National Administrative Registrar. It's supposed to take in all these admin issuances so that those admin issuances will be effective, right? And institutions, offices needed to issue admin issuances to be able to deal with the pandemic, right? That was something that we could not let go. And so within the first week, within the first 3 days, we had to cobble together a system for owner to publish registered issuances online, right? And then next critical function, we brought our legal aid online. People were starting to come with problems related to the pandemic. They started coming up, COVID-related, lockdown-related legal issues started coming in. And so we set up a system, a web-based system for them to coordinate with our lawyers. And of course, we're part of a larger UP community, right? We had to address the health issues, the mental wellness issues of our larger community of students, right? We had to, we have alumni who wanted to raise funds for the PGH, and so we had to establish our COVID response portal. Right, so that was the short term. That was part of some of the short term things that we did. So, but from May 2020 onwards, we're starting to have a plan now. We're starting to work on a plan, put in place pieces of that plan to deal with the new normal. All right. So moving forward, we need to function as a school, and so we need to worry about admissions, about the delivery of instructions, right, online or blended learning, and how to provide online materials, right? Because, well, not only online materials for our students, but for our reviewers, as well as our popular books. Right? As an office, we need to sustain remote work. So the UP College of Law issued this paper on building a resilient judicial system. We also held a webinar about how we can move the practice to the new normal. And then we launched our Moodle-based learning management system. So our online classes, can be accessed by our students through this site. So it's based on Moodle. We chose Moodle not only because of the features. It's very mature. A lot of institutions use it and have contributed to it, and so you can be sure that if there's a function that you want, there's a good chance that it's already been thought of by the developers. But we also choose Moodle because we have an existing network of support here in UP. The UPOU, right, uses Moodle. UVLE, the Diliman's virtual learning environment, uses Moodle. So we can count on the support of those other institutions for training, for management, for technical support. And also because Professor JJ and I are used to be UPOU faculty, so this is what we're used to. In fact, this is a screenshot of the first class that we were able to launch in Moodle, and it's Professor JJ's Obligations and Contracts class. Right? Because the moment we launched it, he was already ready with content. Right? He's been preparing for this for this moment to come. So next is admissions. Right? So as you know, we recently announced the results of the LAE, and usually we would post their names on the web, but then there would be a definitive authoritative copy of the list of passers here in the college. Right? I learned recently that people would go to the college and they would take a picture. They would take a picture of the printout, and sometimes they would take selfies, next to their names. So, but this time we did not have that. There was an instruction to shoo away all the students, all the passers who would go to looking for LAE results. So instead, we had to launch this time around the electronic version of the LAE results, right, was digitally signed, and so we don't have a printout. The digital copy is in fact the authoritative version. So anyone who wants to confirm would have to verify through a hash. Right? All right. So the problem with having just one solution. Right? So during the start of during the start of this period, a lot of people were coming to us with solutions, all sorts of solutions for learning management, and they were all promising, this is the only one you need, right? But we have a diverse faculty, right? We have a diverse faculty and a diversity of approaches. Some of our faculty will say, I can't do the Moodle thing. I can't appear in front of a screen. I can't open a window. So what will you do? Will you exclude them? Of course not. So we had to find ways of accommodating all the pedagogical approaches available to us. So some faculty some faculty they don't want to go to they don't want to Zoom from home. They don't want to go through that maybe indignity, right? They want to go to a physical location in the college. So we had to work on a way of for physical distancing, disinfection, and make sure that they're still they can stream live safely. Some faculty they don't want to appear before a screen at all. They don't want live. So again, we had to accommodate them, pre-record their lecture. So in a way, we have to over provision, right, in order to accommodate all of them. Right. So now we are we're not just in the business of preparing lectures. We now have to prepare interactive learning objects, right? Videos with embedded quizzes. We're now also in the business of organizing webinars, live events on YouTube and Facebook Live. Also, that's something that we have to learn now. So moving forward, we are trying to get more people on board the online classroom. We are training support staff because so we're training our teachers. We're just about to end the first cycle of training, the first batch of teachers in using Moodle, but we also need to train support staff, setting up their classes, preparing quizzes for some teachers who may not be able to use Moodle to its fullest potential. All right. So other things that we are procuring, right? We want to have 2 video production units, so 2 teams and 2 lines of equipment at the same time who can do shooting to editing to post. So we now have openings for cameramen, for editors, and post and sound mixers. We are making sure that we have ventilated rooms, well-ventilated rooms. We are purchasing acrylic shields as well as UV lamps, so that we have regular disinfection. We are also considering, putting production people in a bubble, meaning they stay here in the dorms in UP Diliman, right? They don't go back to their communities. No one's using the dorms anyway, so they stay in the dorm. And they're available for shoots. We only need to occasionally, after disinfection, after a safe protocol, fly in the professors. Right. So this is the approach being considered by the NBA. Right. All the players will be in the facility in Florida, right. And all the support staff will be in Florida in a disinfected bubble, and the whole world will just, no fans, will just watch them. So this is something that we are also considering. So for work, everyone will continue to be in Microsoft Teams. We want to mirror our physical document routing and approval procedures in SharePoint and Azure for external clients, and of course we'll still use Zoom because everyone seems to like it. Okay, so do I still have time for a short rant? Okay, so one of the things that I'm happy Prof. JJ allowed me to do while I was working as an associate was, he allowed me to work, not use Word. He allowed me to continue using my code editor, so that and I'll just even though he can't understand, medyo mahirap yung source code, I can output to RTF or to doc or to PDF anyway. And the only one of the reason why I continue to insist on using my source editor, source code editor, was because, well, first, I don't want to interrupt my typing flow. When I'm typing, I'm already in the flow. I don't want to break it by grabbing my mouse and mousing around and hunting for the right window, right menu and menu option icon, etc., etc. I can do everything through a markup language. I can control the formatting. I can control the structure just by typing the instructions. Right? So it's a continuous typing flow. Right? Another reason why why I like using a source code editor was that so I could continue using professional level source code control, right? So one of my greatest frustrations, dealing with ordinary offices as well as law offices, was that people, lawyers included, are still stuck. So you're naming your files. You're naming your when you move from one version of the file to another, you're saving it as another file, right? And you're just renaming it. You're dealing with it through the file system. Final draft 1.5, final draft 2.5, super final draft promise 2.5. That is something that programmers have solved decades ago, right? This is not a problem for us because we use source code control. I remember hearing about indirect allegations of plagiarism, the plagiarism case involving Justice Mariano del Castillo. One of the court said in their decision, which excused him. He said, it's okay because the problem is, there was no transparency of the versions of the changes from one version of the document to another. And I think that's fair. You can't see, unless you do something, you can't see the granular changes from one version to another. But that's not a problem for programmers, right? This is like polio, right? No one should have to suffer through that. But the problem is to use source code control, you have to, you not only have to change your tools, but I think you also have to change the way you think about your work, right? You have to think about your work not as discrete files, but as a tree, a flow of data. And I suppose that's a paradigm shift that would require more time, right? Yeah, but I think the lesson I hope to convey is that, there are so many things out there that we can learn from, that we can make our work better, we can make our approaches better, we can make our life easier if we can be humble enough to take from all these other fields. Since we're shifting to online learning, I'm realizing that it's not a matter of just trying to translate the classroom experience into Zoom. You can't just call, you just can't arrange a Zoom call and assume that everything will proceed like before. You need to change your approach. You need to change the way you deliver content. You need to change the way you test. And so more and more, the last few weeks, I've been borrowing from other fields, educational psychology, time to get caught up in your educational psychology. Maybe it's also time to consider learning more about gaming and game design, because we are dealing with a generation that's really wired for gaming and incentives, right? Think of a way of using that for your courses. More and more, we have to consider the language of film, right? And think about programming, right? So yeah, that's the lesson that I've been learning, and I hope I was able to share a good part of that to all of you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Attorney Emmer. Okay, can we ask also to share the screen together with Attorney JJ and also Attorney Lars. So we're all gonna share the screen and answer a few of questions. So, okay, so Attorney JJ, can I see? Wait, let me check. All right. Okay. So thank you so much to everybody who has who already typed in their questions. We are now going to hop on that and discuss that. If you have more questions, feel free to, of course, type it down so that we'll be able to tackle them. We have 10 minutes to do this. Okay. So our first question is actually this is a good question, Attorney JJ. To all our lawyers here is that okay? So John said the productivity tools discussed are all public cloud-based software. One major concern about moving to cloud is on security and privacy. So besides the need to protect client confidentiality, many firms deal with a wide variety of sensitive, highly regulated data such as medical, employment, immigration, financial records, and so on. How did you deal with the security concerns? That's number one. Number two, how did we obtain assurance regarding the security and confidentiality of information because you're entrusting to a third party? And number three is regulatory requirements with the Philippines as well on the need to compile before they engage a third party. So what is it that what it is that you all also gone through in terms of choosing these softwares that you're now using?
Okay, so I'm not by no stretch of imagination am I an information security specialist, but I do talk to a lot of security infosec guys, and uh, and the consensus is this: when it comes to cloud, um, cloud is a shared resource, so everybody who's in the cloud basically contributes little by little to security, right? Now, people like to have control over their data and their resources, so they'll have it on premises and therefore they pay for that security, right? So my analogy is that if you have on-premises services, you have your server in your office and you have internet connection directly, and you connect to a resource you maintain yourself. My analogy to that is like it's like you have a house in the middle of outside the subdivision that's in the middle of nowhere. So you have to build your own walls, you have to build your own security, put up your own CCTV cameras, or you could live in a condo where everybody, or in a subdivision where everybody contributes a little, right, for better security for everyone. And so, in a sense, because you're sort of outsourcing the security to the cloud provider, you're better off. I mean, and I guess the other thing that we need to think of seriously as well is that it's not just the sort of technical capability. I mean, when you look at a company like Google, for example, you can imagine what sort of experience they've had through the years, right? So I've never heard of an instance where maybe Emmer can help me out here. I've never heard of an instance where I've heard Google had been hacked. So that tells you that they've been operating for more than 20 years, never been hacked. I'm sure a lot of people have tried to hack. They've never been down. They've never heard of Google going down. And so these are people who are very, very good at have world-class capabilities in security data. And finally, they have a reputational risk, right? So they're not. These are the people who are not going to risk their reputation for an incident where any of the data gets disclosed. So on that basis, I'm very comfortable with cloud. In fact, I think it's more secure to have cloud rather than have a system that's running off your backend.
Just to add on John's last question, whether there are regulatory requirements. So of course we recognize that for some industries, some entities in particular industries would have to comply with certain outsourcing requirements. Like for example, for BSP supervised entities, the BSP has an entire set of regulations just for cloud and a separate one for outsourcing. Same thing with government. I think the DICT has a cloud policy specifically for government. And for the rest, of course, there's your standard data privacy compliance issues. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. And also, we just wanted to inform everybody that we are not affiliated to the softwares that we also discussed, but these are merely what we're sharing here is that you have to look for the right tool that fits your business as well. Okay, so our next question here is what equipments do you use to scan all of your documents?
Just a document scanner. I mean, a lot. So it's not as if we had tons and tons of data. This is just the new stuff that comes in. So it's more of unti-unti. You get to that. So just ordinary document scanner. I think we use either HP or Brother. It's one of those ones that you can buy off out of the mall.
Okay, so about SASE, how much is the investment cost typically?
What's SASE?
Okay,
Yeah, what does that mean? Well,
okay.
we can. Baka the person who asked that question can
SAAS, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right, so what is the recommendable software platform to use for documents needed to be approved in sequence by a set of people in the organization? I think this is where DocuSign comes in, or HelloSign, or
Yeah. You know, there's something new that's coming out. Oh my God, somebody was. So it's like you can make your own apps, even if you're not a coder. Parang no coding something automation. The reason we know this is because actually of a client who's doing that. It's called Quick Reach. So I guess you look it up online. Quick Reach by a company called Blast Asia. And what they do is what apparently, so if you go watch it, and they have a 30-day free trial. You have process flow. You can make a process flow just putting objects together, sort of doing your own code without being a programmer. So that's their value proposition. Apparently, there's this whole industry around that now, where you don't have to hire a programmer to do things. You have somebody who knows about process, a bit about good technical skill, and you can automate a lot of stuff. I think that's where a lot of this business is headed. Unless like huge enterprise, this might be the way to go.
okay, yes. Okay, so I
think
guess
Emma had something to say about that.
Yeah.
So for government, for government, sometimes you can have a rather convoluted, document routing and approval procedure, right? So may mga parallel processes before they meet somewhere, and so what we're trying to do here is we're trying to build our own, right? Although based on workflow management and tools already available in Teams as well as in SharePoint. So we're going to, this would require some customization because some document routing and approval protocols are rather complicated.
Okay, Attorney Emmer, I think this is rightfully yours. How did the college go about administrating exams?
Yeah, so for online exams, Professor JJ delivered online exams through Google. Some faculty use Google Classroom. I think certainly they pass back to you because you developed the rules for online exams.
So what I did was I got my students on parang town hall meeting kami. I said, okay, here's what we're going to do, right? I want you to set up a device, maybe your phone or a video webcam that's pointing to your screen and to your keyboard. I can see you, I can see your screen. So they're doing their exam on an online platform, but I can see their screen. And so I had it was actually perfect. I had 19 students. And so when 20 of us on a Zoom call, on a gallery view, I could see, and I said, keep your mics on, so I know that nobody off cam is reading the answer to you, right? And so that's how we did it, and surprisingly, they did actually well. If they were cheating, they did a great job. Yeah.
Wow, that was fun. All right, so right now, actually, this is a good question as well. Right now, electronic signature is very, very popular. How can we secure the electronic signature of an individual? What if somebody uses her signature? I know we're gonna tackle this in the next sessions, but
we're gonna tackle that
2
weeks from now. But that's a big problem. But I think what you're talking about there is the electronic signature, which is like your scan signature. A lot of people have their scan signature and they give it to somebody. Sometimes they embed it on a Word document and send it out. And therefore, if it's in that document, I can just cut and paste it, right? So that's very risky. So yeah, I mean, that I think will happen again and again. Actually, it is possible for somebody to take that, put it on a check, right? Present it to the bank, and the bank will think, if they're not looking very closely, they say, oh, this isn't. No, it looks like it was written in ink. So that's something that we can discuss later We have a show on this on electronic signatures 2 weeks from now.
Okay, so there's no name here. We still have 2 minutes left. So can we share our picture now via social media? I mean, what do you mean? I'm sorry. There's no name. Okay, one more. We are
I think, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Do you know? Okay.
I mean, I'm just asking if yung feed, what they see, can they share?
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Do you want
As
us
long
to
as we look good.
Alright. Okay, go. So we're previously using Google for our document sharing. Unfortunately, one of our consultants informed that this is very risky, thus we moved to IBM collaboration, which is very costly. Seeing that you mostly use cloud in your document management, you do really need to worry using Google Apps. By the way, we also use Trello. Okay, we also use G Drive for doc sharing. How do we become mindful in terms of cyber hygiene, strong passwords, limiting access, so on and so forth?
Yeah. So I said already what I said about cloud, why I'm comfortable about that. On Google Docs, if the nice thing about Google Docs, actually Google Docs can be even more secure than email, especially if you share a document to somebody else. And if you share that document with somebody else to say a Google account or a Gmail account, because then that person has to log into that Gmail account to access the document. So it's better because when you send a document by email, then anyone in the path of that email can get that document. Whereas if if you share a link, you can even control the time when they can look at it, etc. You can even add a password if you want. You can have very high levels of confidence that the content is not being disclosed.
Okay, Attorney Emmer, there's a question for you. Are there initiatives to change the curriculum of the College of Law to equip students with technical skills?
Well, we have curricular reform will take a while. Meaning, they want new subjects. If they want new subjects, right, that may take a while because new subjects would have to be approved at the university level. But what UP does, to supplement its curriculum is that it has a law center, the law center, which has programs that that students can join, students can work for, and that would expose them to a wider variety of law that that more than they're exposed to in the classroom. Professor JJ has the law and technology program, and I think that can be a venue for for upgrading the technical skills of students.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Anything to add, everyone? Nana?
Actually, there's still a lot more questions out here on the chat. I don't know if you're seeing it.
Yeah, but yeah. So again, is there anything that you wanted to address? Yeah, we still have. Okay, let's give it 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. So there's a question here about from Tomohi Sakato about why are you using Slack on top of email? And the answer to that question is that Slack is, and really this is the power of Slack. Slack is great for internal communication. So things that, so it's sort of like the kitchen, and the Gmail, the client facing is more of like the restaurant. So you don't want to see how the stew is cooked, so to speak. So it's a way for us to share information and manage our work on the back end.
Okay. Yes, Lars, do you have anything to add?
On that question, actually, we integrate our use of Google Docs with Slack. So it's, well, actually in the middle of things. So some would submit documents as Microsoft Word, but in the last few months, like for example, associates would submit Google Docs for review via Slack. And then it will just keep on updating. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so there's another one question. What about tools to use wherein clients can dump or send documents safely? I mean, aside from Google Drive, of course, and giving them a link and putting the documents there. Like what other particular tools do you guys use in the firm? So Slack, no?
Safety. Email actually is not secure. So the best thing I think is you have a file that's in the cloud. So you have Dropbox, for example, right? What you can do in Dropbox, you can share a file. So people need to log into Dropbox to access the file or download. And so then you don't have the risk of somebody who's like monitoring all your outgoing emails. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Anything more to add, Attorney Emmer? None? You're good? You're good? Okay. All right. So thank you everybody for the 200 people who were able to join us. This is such a blast. In a nutshell, of course, listen through closely with the discussion that we have, that digital transformation means, of course, adopting to not only technologies that are available, but also changes in customer expectations, societal shifts, and industry and disruptions. And it not only gives you ease, but also help you in your business at scale. So remember, there are 5 things. You have to remember what is the technology that you want to use, what is the customer experience. So you need to experiment on which among the tools will fit for your business. Of course, the culture of your business, if they're ready to adopt to these kinds of tools, the core business needs, as what Attorney Lars said, it also has to answer to the culture on how you guys share your data and the workflow. And of course, you have to be very strategic in terms of how you use it with integrity. So of course, there are upfront costs. I'm sure it can be really, really high. It depends on what you use, and how you use it. But at the end of the day, it will give you more ease, right? And business also for your scale. And yeah, it's no longer a nice to have. So it's very, since we all know now that it's imperative for everyone to see all these, all these solutions for our enterprises. I hope that you somehow, our webinar today, you were able to understand what it means and how to implement it for your business to scale for productivity and client communication. Okay, I would like to invite everyone. We'll have June 25 doing e-business, electronic contracts, documents, and signatures. Few of your questions are actually going to be answered through that on June 25, and on July 2, e-signatures, and are they really legal? And so that you know also your next steps, you may go to dtt.ph and register. Again, it's still limited seats, so we're so happy that there are 200 of you who are able to join us. Once again, this is Cassie for the Digital Transformation Thursday. We have here Attorney JJ, Attorney Lars, and Attorney Emmer. Wanted to say thank you and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.